Hey, welcome back everybody. This week we're going to do a really fun one, Street Fighting Man by the Rolling Stones. This was put out in 1968 and is right in a great period of Rolling Stones where they're still experimental a bit, but Keith is really coming into his own musically into this new era, and there's a lot of interesting things that happen on this song, including how he recorded it, and then actually the chords and the tuning and everything on how you play it. So if you really want to get it so it sounds like the record, there's some things you need to do on here, and we're going to cover all of that. Hey, if you like what you see, I really appreciate it if you can go down and click subscribe if you have not already, and ring the bell. I'll let you know every time I drop new content, which I do every single week. There's also some other ways to support the channel if you're so inclined. There's super thanks right below there. I've got a new Patreon channel, and the link's down below. You can check that out and see what that's all about too. Anyway, Street Fighting Man. Oh my goodness, there's so much to talk about here. First, let's talk about how it's recorded. So you saw a little bit on the clip on the front end, what's involved there. Keith Richards used a cassette tape recorder, which was sort of state-of-the-art technology in 1967, 8, I guess. But this was one of the Philips portable tape recorders, and that he used on this one. But you know, I went out and endeavored to find a Philips tape recorder to get the exact sort of model to do this on here, and they're all out there broken. There's damned if I could find one that works. But you know what? I ordered this one off of Amazon for like 24 bucks or something, and hooked it all up, and I thought it sounded great. It sounded just like it. Anyway, what you hear on the record is, on a stereo version anyway, panned all the way to one side, is an acoustic guitar where he took the microphone that's on the cassette player and he literally stuck it inside the hole of the guitar, and played the chords real hard, and it overloaded and overdrove, you know, the signal to the tape. But he recorded that whole rhythm track that way on a cassette. Then following that, he got that recording, and then he hit play on that cassette, and he actually hooked an external speaker to that, so it didn't run out of the little 3-inch speaker that's on there. But says, as legend goes, he ran a line out and went to some kind of bigger external speaker, and he put a microphone in front of that, and that is what he ran and got it to the board, and they probably did a little bit of EQing on it or whatever, but that's what you hear. It's basically just a microphone in the hole of his guitar recorded into a cassette player, and that's that first guitar that you hear on Street Fighting Man. And the second guitar that you hear panned on the other side is not into the cassette. That's something that's in the studio, and a lot more body to that guitar, but the two complement each other, and those are the two acoustic guitars that you hear throughout that song. There's not a single electric guitar on that song. So the tuning he used here is an open D tuning. And the open D tuning that he used is basically you take your standard tuned guitar and you tune your E string down to a D. You leave your A string alone, and you leave your D string alone. And your G string, you tune down 1 fret, half a step. And then your B string and your E string, you tune those down a whole step, or 2 frets. Okay? So in the end, you have a D chord, but you can think of it as, you know, when you play in an open E chord like that, it's just a bar chord, or it's just an open E chord like that, but it's in the key of D. So think of it in that way. This is a D chord in the shape of an E, and you get that just by tuning a couple of the strings down, okay? So you start with that. Now, the chords that you're using. So the song itself is in the key of C, okay? So because you've tuned this down, you know, any bar chord, any straight across is a major chord, right? So C is now, you know, if you bar straight across at the 10th fret, which would normally be a D chord, because you've tuned it down, it's a C. Okay, so that little Keith Richards opening is the alternating between just the straight across and putting your middle finger on the G string 1 fret up and your ring finger on the A string 2 frets up. Okay? You can see that over my shoulder. All right? That's the whole that's the whole part of the intro, right? So that's the first chord. And it bounces back and forth. And you can hear the sort of pattern as you're listening to the song. Strong upstrokes. I can't describe what the feel or what the actual strumming pattern is, but roughly it's your upstrokes are summer's here, time right out in the street, boy. You know, Keith describes this bounce back between these two chords as reminding him sort of like the European, or French as he described it, but sort of the European sound of the police siren on a police car. Right? So he had that in his head. Interesting little tidbit there. Okay, so your next chord is a G. Your G chord's down on the 5th fret, bar straight across. Now he never really plays, I don't think he ever really lands on a clean open G chord. What he's doing is he's holding it as a suspended. Okay, so you're gonna have your middle finger 1 fret up on the G string here. And what I hear him doing is he does this little figure where he goes. You know, so if you do that little part or not, it'll still sound fantastic, but hold the suspended. Whatever you do, do this. Don't resolve it, because that's the tension, that's the part of that song. And then it goes to a D chord. Now your D chord is just an open. So one of the guitars is playing that as an open. That's the one that's on the tape recorder. The other one plays an interesting little single note line that's sort of buried in the mix a little bit, but there's a piano part that plays an octave to it, and there's a lot of other things sonically that's going on to sort of mask what's happening during that part with all the tambura and all the other stuff, right? So that little part that he does, it sounds like this. You're back, right? It's very faint. Now, if you're playing this live and you're the only guitar, don't do that. Just that's what you want to do. But just know that that's in there. All right, well, basically, that's it. On the outro of the song, he's just hanging on that D. And the other one's playing a little bit of that guitar line. So that's Street Fighting Man. So key parts, open D tuning. These are your notes. The first chords straight across up here on the 10th fret. Lay them on. Bounce back and forth. The next chord is your G, but keep it suspended. And then the next chord, last chord is your D. Okay, that's Street Fighting Man. Did you learn something new today? So, hey, if you haven't done so already, really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. If you go down and click subscribe right now, go do it right now, and ring that bell. It lets you know every time new content drops, which I do every single week. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and if there's another song you want me to do a lesson similar to this. Love responding to your requests. And check out my Patreon page. It's there. All right, until next week, take care, everybody.